Mental health is one of the most talked about topics of this generation, and thankfully the stigma around depression and anxiety is slowly diminishing, which allows for much better conversations about people's well-being. However, there is a dark side to this increased level of awareness. For instance, in the UK, mental health has become the #1 reason for sick leave. According to the 2021 UK government statistics, there were 17 million lost days out of 36.8 million, which is nearly half of all absences. And then the worst part of this increase in awareness is that it's become popular. It's now almost trendy to have some kind of mental health label. So, considering all of these factors, the big question I asked today: is depression a choice? First, let's look at working conditions and the wider economy, because these have massive levels of financial pressure which contributes to mental health conditions. In 1960, the average monthly salary was £53 a month, and the average mortgage cost was £13 a month, which puts it as 25% of a single person's income. In 1990, the average salary was £992, with a £316 average mortgage cost, which put it at 32%. Fast forward to 2020, when most of my generation are trying to buy a house, the average monthly salary is £2,204, with a monthly mortgage cost of £1,322. This puts it at 60% of an average person's income. This is even before the massive rates increases we've seen in 2023, which has now put the average mortgage price at £1,801 a month. This puts it at 78% of a single person's income. As a result, there's about £520 of disposable income. As soon as you take into consideration energy, fuel, internet, and other bills, that leaves you with barely £100 for food. Then if you add in childcare and fun activities that you want to do, you are stretched incredibly thin. And then we look at the work conditions themselves. What we've seen is a massive increase in expectations. We are producing now at a rate which was unfathomable 80 years ago. It's then no surprise that over 80% of the population have reported feeling burnout, and 30% of that population has also had long-term sick leave because of it. Do we see well-being taken seriously off the back of this massive burnout statistic? I have seen a significant increase in companies acknowledging mental health conditions, and a very large increase in parroting services and articles that they found online. But do we see them actually tackling the problem? I personally don't see it, and neither do all the clients I work with. For instance, has your company performed a stress risk assessment or a burnout risk assessment? Or perhaps performed an employee survey where you've seen a tangible outcome off the back of your results? My guess is probably not. So what we're seeing is a decrease in disposable income with an increasing level of work expectations, resulting in higher burnout and higher sick leave in regards to mental health. The next massive contributor to mental health conditions is the overall category of health. This includes diet, exercise, sleep, and stress. A typical meal plan in the UK looks like cereal or English fry-up for breakfast, a sandwich meal deal from your local supermarket or Boots, and then a standard meat and 2 veg dinner template for each of your evening meals. Usually this consists of a large portion of starchy carbohydrates, such as chips, rice, or pasta. If we plug all of these into MyFitnessPal, what you'll see is an average calorie breakdown of 2,200 in a day, with just 93 grams of protein. There's also 93 grams of sugar per day that you're consuming. It's no surprise you're feeling the post-lunch slump when you're having 90 grams of sugar by lunchtime. What I've also seen in the research is this volume of processed food is massively affecting people's microbiome. And this research indicates that your microbiome has a massive effect on your energy. And whilst doing all of this work and scrolling social media, we are more sedentary than ever. It has become recommended to try and get 10,000 steps a day, which equates roughly to about 6 miles of walking. At your typical average pace, that is about an hour of walking a day. It's now a choice to exercise rather than a requirement, which means if you don't feel like it, you're not doing those steps, and you're not going to the gym. And you can see the cycle continues where you have increased level of stress at work, which makes you not want to exercise or go to the gym, which increases your level of stress in the future. And lastly, let's look at the level of connectedness between individuals. We have never been more connected than we are right now. I can jump on a Teams call and speak to someone all over the world, and you can find online communities of any topic or niche that you can think of. Why then are we so starved for emotional fulfillment? As we've seen in all of the research and employee surveys, people are crying out to be understood and feel valued. In reality, what we are seeing is a massive erosion of social trust and social media algorithms constantly pushing the extremes of every topic spectrum. Facebook and TikTok have both stated that their algorithms are designed to get maximum engagement, and nothing stirs engagement like extreme controversy. Social media then finds online communities where people have the same value system as you, and then you can engage with hundreds, if not thousands of people around the world. But for the everyday person, it creates a barrier of mistrust from those around us. This prevents us from opening up and being honest and vulnerable to others. This vulnerability is what creates trust and builds emotional connections to those around us. If we can't do that out of fear from how bad the world is, then no wonder we feel alone. So in summary, let's answer the question, is depression a choice? The answer is absolutely not. The level of pressure financially, from health, from relationships, and from online is enormous, and the most it's ever been in any generation. Blaming ourselves is the worst thing you can do. And equally, blaming the world is the worst thing you can do. The reality is, it's not your choice to feel depressed, but it is a choice to remain depressed. Think of it like this. If you were in an accident and injured your leg, which now requires 12 weeks of physiotherapy in order to get back to where you were, it's your choice to engage in that physiotherapy treatment and to do the exercises every day as prescribed. Is it hard? Yes. Is a step 10,000 times harder than it was before the accident? Absolutely. Does that mean you shouldn't do it? Not unless you're happy not walking again. And that is the same principle with mental health. Is it difficult to get out of bed when you're feeling depressed? Absolutely. Is it 10,000 times harder than it was before you weren't depressed? Categorically. Does that mean you shouldn't do it? No. It isn't fair when you're feeling depressed. Everything is so much more difficult, but ultimately it is still our choice. And once we recognize that, it then becomes a case of, okay, what do I do? And for me, I found the advice around mental health appalling. What you'll see online is your bog standard advice, which is get outside more, exercise, eat better, sleep better, reduce your stress. There's not anything tangible within the answers that you're being told. There's also nothing around the emotional side of mental health and the mental and habitual conditioning upon your mind. And you're told to go to therapy at a time where it's difficult to get out of bed, let alone go to a therapist. And as I mentioned previously, you probably don't have the money to pay for one anyway. So I'm creating this video series to provide tangible advice on how people can tackle mental health and take responsibility for fixing their situation. We'll be going deeper into the topic and giving you clear strategies. Let's get started.